Bad English.
Okay, hello. This is Mr. Finglish from Bad English and Talking Hands from Bad English X. And this guy over there
is the bald metal noid. We've done this a few times, and it's a lot of fun.
It's actually fun, yeah.
So today I did a series. If you guys want, you can go to my channel. I basically did 6 videos. 6. Oh, whatever. So 666, right? I did 6 videos on basically what I thought about this list. We're going to be talking about Rolling Stone's top 100 metal albums of all time. Personally, I feel that Rolling Stone has always been fairly terrible as far as their, quote, metal coverage and their opinion of it and all that, as we're going to get into as we talk about this list. So
yeah. Before we go, I have to say that this is always interesting because everyone has a different kind of opinion. We both have different kind of opinion, and it's fun to talk about it.
Exactly.
And also, different magazines have different. If Kerrang would have done this,
it would have been probably a way better list.
Yeah, it would have been totally different, or some Finnish Inferno or something. It would have been different, or any what it was NME. Do you know that one?
We used to have a big magazine over here. I don't know. It doesn't still exist. We used to have one called Metal Maniacs.
Okay.
That was huge in the 80s and 90s.
Or something. But Enemy wasn't metal at all, so it would have been really different from this list.
So
that's why I love to start to talk about this issue.
Well, I think part of it is the fact that basically it's what the heck am I trying to say? This was, Rolling Stone is a general music magazine, not really focused on any one genre. Yeah. So I think a lot of this is just like, this is to me a list of these bands for people who don't even really like metal, as we'll get into. So let's go ahead and just start talking about the list.
Yes, and I watched your videos, and I would recommend you to watch also who is watching this video. If there is someone going to watch this video, if not, at least we had fun.
Exactly.
But Rolling Stone's greatest metal albums of all time.
They're so authoritative.
Yeah, and number 100.
What a start!
Avenged Sevenfold, City of Evil. And I have to say, you mentioned that it's good metal pop or something, pop metal or how you said that. And I have to say, I like Avenged Sevenfold, this Nightmare album. It's awesome album. It's really like, it's a whole thing. Every song belongs on that album. I think so.
Right. I definitely think Nightmare is better than this album. This is not their best album. I was okay with, like I said in my vid, because we don't want to read the 10 paragraphs of explanation before the list starts, but I actually did read it at one point, and I said that basically they picked just what they thought personally were the best ones. They didn't necessarily pick the ones with the biggest historical impact, just the ones that they liked or thought were the best. So to me, like I said, I'm okay with Avenged Sevenfold being on this list because they are an absolutely gigantic band that have had a ton of influence, and I think some of their stuff's pretty decent. And but this definitely not this album. And to me, it was just, I mean, I get why they picked it, but they could have picked a different album. And that's basically how I feel about a lot of this list. So that's all I got to say about number 100.
I know some people will hate me, but to me, Avenged Sevenfold sounds also like some pop punk bands movement would have been going to metal side.
Yeah, they're a heavier version of Green Day, one could say.
And they're kind of radio friendly.
Yeah,
easy to
definitely.
listen. But I have to say, I have seen them live once. I know I didn't like them back then because they haven't had Nightmare album then. But I listened before that gig, and there was this. Ah, what was the song name? Something Heaven.
Oh God, I don't know.
Uh,
I'm not the biggest fan of that band, so I
yeah,
don't know all their
that was
songs.
good song. But the best moment of that gig was, at least this is how I remember. They were saying at that gig, they were playing before Metallica. And also Slipknot was playing with before Metallica on that gig. But they were saying that they like Finnish bands like Sonata Arctica, and that was the best moment
That's awesome. That's
of
awesome.
their gig. And
And
maybe they even played some small
it's
clips
not.
from
And
Full Moon.
strangely, they're not on this list. I think we have. There's a just spoiler alert for everyone. There is a distinct lack of Finnish metal bands on this list, which is incredibly strange because, as you guys may or may not know, Finland is the metal capital of the world.
Yeah, we have
So
quite many metal bands.
there should have been, in my opinion, at least 5 or 10 Finnish metal bands on this list. Considering how many bands they have and how many high quality, because there's a ton of quality metal that comes out of Finland. It's a great country for it, and just the lack of it on here is just kind of like. I mean, we will talk about the one Finnish metal album when we get there, but it's
also maybe some others.
So so if you're ready to move on to 99, I definitely am.
99 was Evanescence, and again I have to talk about Finnish band because when I heard first time Evanescence, I remember that, and I was like, "Hey, metal music and woman singing, sounds like Nightwish. Nightwish is doing it better." And this is Evanescence was like, to me it was like, I say always this American rock radio station music. I don't know, can you get what I mean? But it's kind of radio friendly music, and it's not really hard, or it doesn't have so much different
feel to it. Maybe my thoughts on this album being on there, again, I was more or less okay with it, I guess, because it was. I was iffy though. I was like, does this really belong on this list? And I was like, not really. I mean, to me, it's almost like putting Poison on this list. And the reason I say that is, that basically Evanescence, in the grand scheme of things, they were just a flash in the pan, right? They had their moment in the sun, and nowadays, I don't think they have really any influence at all on what's going on in metal now. I think they were basically just kind of a flash in the pan kind of band. I mean, I'm okay with it, but I don't really think they totally deserve to be on here. But that's just my opinion of it. So.
I have to say, if I hear Evanescence on radio, I don't turn it off. I don't turn it, and that's why. Sean Sisiela calls Sub-Pop. That's hardcore screamo, isn't it? I mean, is everything metal?
I don't think I would call Evanescence screamo. I think
maybe this was related to this band before we had Avenged Sevenfold.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I think even if he's referring to that, Sean, I still would consider Avenged Sevenfold a metal band. Now he's talking about. I think now he's talking about Evanescence. That's true. I mean, they did have an impact. I'm not saying they had zero impact but I don't know if they had enough impact to belong on this list. That's all. You know.
Yeah, and also this is actually this sounds also same with Avant Sevenfold. I can see if you have listened like these pop punk bands from '94, Green Day, and that kind of stuff, and some alternative emo bands, and then you listen Avant Sevenfold. From that, it's easier to jump to metal music, maybe.
Yeah.
For some people. But
all right. No, so let's go to. I'm sorry.
I like that one album, and that's it.
All right, number 98. Now we're going to talk about Sun.
Okay. I have to say that I'm jumping some songs, some albums.
Oh, go for it. Skip ahead if you want.
Okay for you. Next note I have is from this album. I almost bought once, White Zombie, but I didn't. By the way, no, that was this Naked Shitter.
Oh yeah.
This was something that I haven't ever heard. Maybe I'm not saying that I know everything, not at all, but I haven't ever heard, and I listened just a couple of seconds.
Yeah, couple of.
And then I thought, because I already heard what you said, and then I listened to it, and I was like, okay, let's move on.
That's a ringing endorsement of that album. I think the only reason that Naked City Torture Garden album even made it onto this list is because this list was created by, let's face it, probably somewhat snobbish music journalists, and they're like, let's put something artistic on here. And I think that's really, it's like modern art, where people like, well, throw paint or feces or something at a canvas and say, look at this wonderful masterpiece I created. To me, that was like the musical equivalent of that, but anyway, moving on.
Okay, so Sicilian collection top of hell yeah, one from 10.
He likes the Sun.
I haven't actually listened. I did, and I'm going now jump some albums. We're not commenting on every album.
Right.
Some albums might be something that I have listened, or I even like, but we're not going to talk on every 100.
That's fine, because that would take way too long.
But yeah, at the same time, I just got Naked City last week expanded edition. It's tough to listen. I believe that it's tough to listen.
Probably just as tough as Lulu.
Yeah. Well, about Lulu, I'm not commenting again.
I couldn't help it.
But body count, I understood that your comment that you said that it wasn't maybe their best album or something.
But it's very significant.
Yeah, but it came. It was released in that time. That how many metal band was doing rap music back then?
Yeah, they were. Anthrax, I think, was really the first one, and then Bring the Noise. And,
they did something, but it wasn't. They were focused on that only.
Yeah. Personally, I mean, I think I'm a pretty big fan of Body Count overall. I think they're really good. So I think even in the video I said I was totally good with these being on the list because they're good enough to be on this list, I think. And I see why they picked this album since it was their first, and it had what was interesting about this album is the song Cop Killer only appeared like on the initial release of this album. Then they took that song off, and even if you order the CD today from Amazon, it's not going to have Cop Killer on it. because they took it off the album, which is just kind of silly. I mean, I knew there was a ton of controversy when it came out, but whatever,
Yeah, but I have to say that I listened Body Count's latest album, and I was almost ordering it for myself.
Yeah,
because I like the album artwork and I like the music on it.
But speaking of rap elements in metal, a band that is seriously missing from this list, Suicidal Tendencies. There's not a single suicide. I can't believe how are they not on this list? They have so many great albums that whatever.
But also, from that one, I have to say that if I would make a list, I would easily forget that band also.
Yeah.
Because I understand it's really important band, but I haven't listened it so much. It hasn't been on my
radar, so to speak. Yeah.
But yeah, let's go.
All right.
Then we come to Finland.
Ah, yeah, your own land. Finally.
And you were saying something like,
I thought it was a solid album. I think it's good. But I think there's better albums they could have put on here.
Yes.
And they didn't put, Halloween, because even in the article it says a direct descendant of the power metal pioneered by 80s heavyweights, Halloween, Sabotage, and Blind Guardian. Yet none of those bands are on this list.
Yes. I was saying that why there isn't Halloween or any in that genre. I don't count Manowar in now.
I just don't know how those bands didn't make this list. But again, I'm totally, again, I don't have any problem with Nightwish being on this list. I think they're a great band, but whatever.
I have to say why I said that I don't count Manowar in for this, because I'm saying like there's no any European style power metal. If you listen to Halloween or Stratovarius, Edguy, Rhapsody, Hammerfall, that kind of stuff, they doesn't like Manowar. It's different style.
Yeah, there is definitely a stylistic split between American and European power metal. And Manowar is definitely much more in the American style, for sure. I think a great example, I don't know if the band's even from Europe, of that kind of metal that I would call American power metal. Again, they didn't make this list either. Primal Fear. Oh, they are. Where are they? Where are they from? Primal Fear, the band. They're German. They're German.
German.
That's what I know. But it sounds like their music to me sounds much more like American power metal than European power metal. But whatever.
But but think about how many metal bands had opera singer or something like that in year 2000.
Yeah.
There wasn't so many. And how many metal bands there are now that have female front singer with symphonic style?
There's a lot. So
many bands, bigger and smaller bands.
Oh yeah.
Now after, but I from this I have to mention also another band that I think it wasn't here, because I remember I was fighting with my friend who started this kind of style metal genre. Then I got to know that, because I said that, hey, Nightwish started before with Invasion, but actually they started at the same year, and their first album was released in the same year. So they were both starting, and of course they got Nightwish is more with opera style and more symphonic maybe than Within Temptation, but still in the same. I would put in some way them on the same category.
All right.
And I still think this and Ocean Burn, this all once were one of their best albums from Nightwish. Although once they started sound more symphonic because they had more money to use when they made albums, and they went to record with same guy who had done collaboration with Uriah Heep and that kind of stuff. So that's why I would also maybe have picked Once album.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I guess we should go to the next one, whichever one, wherever we're jumping to.
I have to still mention that Tuomas Holopainen, who's man behind the songs, he's incredible songwriter. You can hear it also on his solo album, music inspired by the life and times of Scrooge. That's really fun album to listen also. Okay, next one. Let's go with Manowar. Well, we were talking about.
We already covered Manowar.
Yeah, Lamb of God, I have nothing to say about.
All right. Dark
Throne, not so many. Baroness, what did you say? You said something that it's okay, but you didn't.
Yeah. Like I like them well enough. You know, I don't dislike Baroness, right? Because I gave that a listen. Oh, dang it! How I mute? Bear with me just a second.
Yes. Well, when he's on phone, I can read comments here. I Hate God are a favorite of mine. I'm in Louisiana. Okay, like I said, I'm trying to jump. We're not going to comment on every album. I don't have so much to say actually about I Hate God. But Baroness, well, now he's back. He's back. Soon he's going to listen about Baroness. I have to say that I wouldn't have put it on this kind of list, but still I like them, and especially after seeing them live, and it's great summer music, like listening them and sitting on the grass while they play. And I would like to have all of their albums on vinyl, but I don't know. Have they had some impact on other bands?
I think sorry, has the fun of live as always. So yeah, I think they definitely are impactful in the metal scene. But I think it's more the impact they've had on other bands rather than them being a truly. I mean, I think they're good, but I don't think they're amazing. I don't think they're completely top tier. I like them. I just don't love them. That's really all there is to it. You know. So you probably talked enough on that. That's my real quick one. So I'm ready to move on to the next thing since you probably talked long enough on that one by yourself. So
okay, now we're talking about Sweden, our neighbor, who we love and who we hate in Finland, and who we'll talk about. But now we are not talking about because they have done really great music also after ABBA. And Entombed, I really well understand they took, maybe there has been also other bands that was in same era and same time doing this Swedish death metal band, but maybe I would have taken also Entombed from that one. Would it have been this one or some other album? I don't know. Maybe
personally,
something.
I think I said yeah. This to me, this one kind of made sense beyond on this list because they are, they were very incredibly influential to death metal as a whole, and I think this is an excellent album. So, and as far as it being number 82, I'd say that's probably about right. I think this one, yeah, I had no problem with this at all. That's just basically it. If I can't make fun, it's almost more fun to make fun of stuff than just say, yeah, it's okay. But this one I didn't really have any issues with.
Yeah, but this has been also before we started doing this live. We were already talking about the Swedish death metal bands, and
yeah,
this has been maybe also important to bands like who came later. I say also always Göteborg metal, like At the Gates, In Flames.
Who's not on this list, by the way.
Yeah, that
Left
was
off In Flames.
And from Finland, I would say also a little bit after those one came Zero Freedom, who took something from that genre and put it also some power metal guitar solos and keyboards together and black metal style, and they did their own thing also. So I think Zero Freedom was also one thing that wasn't here. Alex Laiho has been mentioned, one of the best guitarists in world in some way. So, but they have done also great music.
Oh yeah. So, what's next?
Yeah. But hey, Entombed. I have to. I have always something else to say, but I have to say that if you're interested in Entombed music and you like this and Clandestine album, and especially if you're not interested, you should go to YouTube and you can find where you see and hear orchestral versions from the whole album of Clandestine.
Nice.
It is weird thing, and it is awesome also. Yeah. Sorry, we were skipping many like Battery, Ministry. I have seen them also live at the Gates. Awesome album, just like you said.
That was an easy one. Slot. I mean, if that, yeah, I mean that was a no-brainer to put Slaughter of the Soul on here.
And Mexico, you said that you understand it's there, but
yeah, it's just not my thing, but it makes sense to be on there.
Yeah, like here it says Gent. It has been really important for.
Oh yeah, exactly.
And Twisted Sister, yeah.
Yep.
Morbid Angel, yeah.
Venom, of course.
Venom, yeah. I just never.
Okay, here's one that is this even a metal album? that was one of my things. Like, is this even metal? It's. I mean, I like this album. I mean, it's good, but I don't know if I will call it metal.
But get yourself in the year 1982, and if you go to record shop, would Scorpions would be on grade of pop music or metal music?
Well, yeah, in 1982 they would have been metal, but when I think of like early 80s metal, I think of Dio more than this. Ozzy, hell, 1982. By then, Motorhead had a few albums out. That stuff's way more metal than this. Iron Maiden. So yeah, I mean that's. So to me, that stuff qualifies as metal, and this just doesn't. In just my opinion, I think I said that in my video. Because Def Leppard also makes this list, and that was a big what. Yeah. And Van Halen. So there are 3 albums on this list that I don't even really consider metal. But that's just me.
Yeah, it's just maybe it's just me also because to me Steppenwolf is metal.
Yeah, to me, metal didn't exist before Black Sabbath. That was the birth. The first real heavy metal anything started with Black Sabbath in their first album, 1970, and that was to me the birth of it. Before that, it was all just rock. Like to me, Black Sabbath's first album was the first time it was entirely its own thing. But but anyway.
Yeah. And Black Sabbath, I have to mention that it has been really important for metal music, because if you look different kind of styles of metal, subgenres and sub-subgenres, how many subgenres has been cut from
their songs? Yeah,
Sabbath, because they have so different kind of songs and styles to do that music that there has been some bands that sounds always just like that song, and other bands that sounds like that song.
Yeah.
But that has been an amazing band, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Then we jump many. Yeah, hey, I didn't have even anything to say about death.
That's all right.
I like it.
I mean, it kind of makes sense that they're on the list. Yeah. I mean, it would have been silly if they hadn't been, but whatever.
But this is also you just said that you're thinking about. Okay, some people might hate me again, but you said that you don't. You were thinking about Scorpions. Is it metal?
Yeah.
To me, I have never thought as metal band.
They are I get that.
I understand there's that feeling of metal music, but to me, it wasn't ever like metal band.
No, they're very iffy to be. I get what you're saying, because I even think I said that. I said in my video, I said I could see this or maybe Bad Motorfinger, but none of their other stuff really like sounds like metal. Like their biggest hit, of course, Super Unknown. I mean, I don't think anybody would call Super Unknown a metal album. It's definitely a great rock album, but it's definitely not a metal album. I definitely agree. Soundgarden is very borderline, whether they should be on this list or not. So, despite the fact they are one of my favorite bands, that I'm trying not to let my personal like or dislike influence this too much. So,
of course, these kind of lists are always likes and dislikes.
Yeah.
Like it's really hard, even if you try to make just list 100 bands that has been really influencing for other bands. you always think uh, first what bands
Well,
you
what's
like.
funny is if we talk about the 100 most influential bands for other bands, the number one band is going to be a band I don't even like, the Beatles. They're probably the most influential band ever,
Really?
but I don't like them. I think, truthfully, I think a lot of their music is just mediocre. Some of it's good, but I think, I mean, yeah, they had an actually gigantic impact on music, much bigger than any of these bands even that we're talking about. But I don't think they're that good. that's just again a personal opinion. That is very subjective, and I recognize that.
But
So
it's fun that you took Beatles because I just today was thinking again for some reason that like 20 years ago, in somewhere in 90s, because of some Finnish music program, I was thinking Beatles is so overrated.
yeah,
And because of some people that I knew that who really much liked Beatles. But now I feel also that it's underrated. If you think young people who like listen some tump 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 and boom boom music,
Let's just
they don't
modern. What
see that
passes for
Beatles
mainstream
were
modern music's
so
pretty bad.
important. Yeah, well,
But
yeah.
all right,
Okay. Now
all right.
I always say when people can hate me because of what I say, but now's again one situation for that.
Oh, what's
But
funny is
Marilyn
just
Manson,
yep. So, what did you think of this
say
one?
again.
Oh, I was just gonna say one more thing about the Beatles. There's only one video on my entire because I've been doing YouTube for 5 years, and only one time have I turned the comments off on a video, and that was a video where I said something negative about the Beatles because I got so much negativity from Beatles fans that I just turned the comments off. It was ridiculous. And I've done videos on things that are way more controversial than the Beatles, but apparently I think it's like a lot of people's religion or something. But anyway, moving on to Marilyn Manson. So let's talk about that, I guess, since we're stopped there.
Yeah, I have to say that, like I said, it's some way sometimes it feels it's overrated, but now when you look, some people don't understand how important this has been. And I like Beatles. I like it.
Yeah, I like some of their stuff, but some of it I just can't get into. It's like it's just too. I don't know. It's just not my thing. But whatever. It doesn't matter. So Marilyn Manson.
Marilyn Manson. Maybe it is because the metal has been to me like Black Sabbath, Uriah Heep, Metallica, Halloween. Did I say Halloween? It's Halloween.
Yeah, Halloween. Yeah.
Anarchist at the Gates, In Flames, Children of Bodom, Rhapsody, all different kind of metal. But to me, Marilyn Manson has been always music that is made for American kids who want to be rebel, if you know what I mean.
I think that was definitely his target audience, for sure. I think that was absolutely what his target audience was when he created that music. I mean, it does classify as metal. I don't think it's particularly all that great. I think, because we passed Ministry up, to me, they are a far superior version of that type of music than what this is. I would even say KMFDM, did things that are better than this. Nine Inch Nails actually did produce one thing that I would like. I don't know how familiar you are with them, but the EP called Broken, that's pretty metal.
I know band.
Yeah, so that was, to me, those are all examples of industrial metal that's a lot better than what this is. But this does still technically qualify, I think. And Marilyn Manson was incredibly, during the 90s, he was absolutely inescapable in popular culture. So I can understand why this is on here, even though it's not my thing. I get why it's on here. That's just me.
Yeah, to me, it has always been looking like it. Except, well, there's of course. I like when he's with Alice Cooper on stage. That's really cool.
But Alice Cooper is a much better artist, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. But at the same time, I have to say also that Marilyn Manson had some really good songs.
Yeah.
Like Beautiful People. Wasn't I? Well, at least that one. Yeah.
Yeah.
And some album I don't.
He did a great cover of "Sweet Dreams Were Made of These."
Yes,
I think that's an excellent cover. Yeah.
That's one of his best songs.
Yeah.
Even though it's not his.
Yeah. We have the Eurythmics to thank for that, but whatever.
Some album I liked just sounds of it because of the sounds.
Yeah.
It was something Hollywood. No?
Holly Weird or something? I don't. Yeah, I know what you're talking
something
about.
Like that. I don't remember anymore. But I like sounds of it.
Right.
And Faith No More, to me, it's sorry, but it has been always more metal for me than Soundgarden or Marilyn Manson.
Yeah, I agree.
Then Napalm Death. Did you have something to say?
I did when I said I'm not personally a gigantic fan of grindcore. It's not my I just don't care for it. I know a lot of people like it. It's just not my thing. But I understand definitely. I think because they were so important to grindcore, yeah, I'd say this probably deserves to be on the list. I don't know if this is, but I'm not an expert on grindcore, so I don't know if this is considered a masterpiece of the genre or not. I just don't know enough about it to care. But I did try to listen to this, and I thought it was kind of okay. So for me to say that about grindcore is a big endorsement because I kind of hate grindcore. So for me to say, hey, this is fine, that's high praise instead of because mostly when I listen to grindcore, I just know I think, God, that sounds awful. So maybe this is a really good one. I don't know. I just don't have. It's just not to my taste. So
yeah, I just have to say that if there is people who don't have listened. People have listened Napalm Death on record, but haven't liked. I would recommend to go see them live, or at least watch some live clips from internet. But seeing them live, it's so amazing, and it's so energetic, and it just works. It's I started like Napalm Death more after seeing them live. I have to say that, and it's so fun that what was the singer name? Bernard.
I can look. I'll find his name out real quick. Singer. What's his name? Guy's name. Barney Greenway, it looks like.
Barney, not Bernard. Because he's like, he's introducing songs like, you shouldn't, with his English accent, like the really polite way. You shouldn't hate other people. And this next song we're gonna play is about people hating other people. It is called. It's amazing.
Nice.
Opeth.
Is Opeth's the next one we're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll scroll to it on mine. Number 55 looks like.
I just have to say that.
There we go.
I just.
Oh yeah.
I liked Opeth. But you were thinking, should it be? I don't remember what you.
I said Opeth belongs on the list, and I said this one's as good of a pick as any of their albums. I think it's a great album. You know, I personally really like it, but you know, if somebody wanted to pick a different album, whatever. I mean, we might maybe argue, should it be this? Should it be Still Life? You know, but whatever. To me, it's kind of like it doesn't really matter because you know it's Opeth and they just do really high quality music in general. So I didn't really have any complaints about it. You know?
Yeah. It's really hard. Would be really hard to pick one album. Maybe I would pick Ghost Riviera. Yes, how you pronounce that?
Ghost Reveries is probably it.
Reverie, yes.
Yeah.
Because that one I have listened it a lot and I like it. Especially I have this surround version from it. And
nice.
I think that was my first surround version from some album, and I love it. It's sad that they don't make them so often.
Right.
But yeah, how about nowadays, Opeth? Some people just hate.
Oh, they've gotten well. They are definitely less metal. I would say nowadays, like their new material is, I don't know if it really qualifies as metal. It's so, you know, light. I still like it. I like their new music because it's still, essentially, it's still really high quality songwriting. It still sounds great. So yeah, they've totally have gone in a different direction, but you know, they're not the only band to do this. Anathema is one that I can think of. There have been other bands that have definitely kind of done a similar thing. And
yeah, done similar thing, but Anathema.
They are more metal than Opeth nowadays for sure. But
yeah, I don't know about that. But they went more atmospheric,
right?
Style, and Opeth went more this 70s progressive.
Exactly.
Style.
Yeah, but they both kind of got much lighter over time. Is kind of
that's right.
You know, and you know, if it's the right evolution for a band, I'm okay with it. Would I prefer for them to be heavier? Of course I would. But you know, that I just kind of when that happens with a band, I just try to, if it's still good what they're doing, I can still appreciate it, even if it's not personally what I want to see. If as long as it's still quality, then whatever. If that's what they really want to do, then that's fine. I mean, it's their band. You know, we can always listen to the older albums whenever we want. So, you know, that's how I feel about it anyway.
Yeah, it's fun that, like, 10 years ago, it was bands that was really cool to go to see live in a dark club and lights, cool lights going there. And nowadays, it's bands that it's cool to go to see live at summertime and sit down on the grass and just smooth.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember going, you know, back in the 90s, going when metal was not very popular. It was absolutely fantastic because, you know, I could see all tons of my favorite bands in these like 200 people clubs and just see them right there. Whereas if I go see them now, they're going to be in a lot bigger venues. There's going to be a lot more people there. So that was actually pretty great. But yeah, but for me, the bands that I saw in the really small venues like that were mostly thrash and death metal bands. Those were by far the majority of what I experienced back then. But anyway, we're getting off track, so let's go ahead and what's our next album we're talking about?
Well, it's fun that over there these are headphones that I'm using. This
cool.
For me.
They're following you around. You must have Googled it.
Back off. I have Googled them so many times. But Typo Negative, if I would have choose one album from them, I would have chosen maybe October Rust.
That's a lot of people's favorite. It might be my favorite as well. You know. So yeah, I might have chosen October Rust as well. And what's funny is when I first heard October Rust back in the 90s, at first I liked it, then I went through a phase of not liking it, and that lasted a while. Now I'm back to really liking it. So go figure. You know.
Typo Negative has been one, of course, Black Sabbath, but one thing that I got interested about doom metal.
Yeah.
Because they're also doing doom on their stuff. But after that came Candlemass for me and that kind of stuff. But I have to say that I also like Word Coming Down. People don't maybe so often like it, but I like it.
Yeah.
It's so sad and once again sad and slow. Carcass is one album that I'd like to get this one also for myself.
I don't know if I have that in my collection or not. I might. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think I might have it. I don't know. But yeah, it's pretty awesome, obviously. But anyway.
A couple of years ago, I was thinking, should I buy this or Sabaton album vinyl, and I bought Sabaton. Hold more. Nothing happens.
I don't know. Oh, is it at the end of the list for you? Okay. I know we at least got to number 50, so scroll.
Well, no.
Okay, there we go. Okay.
Okay, Slipknot. First thing about Slipknot, I have to say that I remember when I saw them live. This was the same thing that was when I was seeing Avenged Sevenfold before Metallica. And everyone, I have heard that it's really energy and they are very cruel there on stage and they vomit there and blood and the most like aggressive point was when they took this bass mat and
I remember I remember
okay, that's it.
my biggest memory with Slipknot is just when their very first album came out, their self-titled debut. Because that came out basically last year. I personally was in college and all that, and I had a lot of friends, and I remember that was one of the first bands that I personally remember creating this giant split in the quote metal community. I remember basically half of the metal people I knew really liked Slipknot, and the other half were like, "Oh, this is garbage. It's terrible because it's trendy and it's sellout and it's this and it's that, and blah 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 blah." You know, personally, I really liked it. You know, I still like Slipknot now. They're not my favorite band, but I like them. So I just and I remember it was basically the people who seem to hate them are, because I noticed there are certain music fans, and there's a lot of these guys in metal, right? They basically get locked into this music should be this way, right? And that's all it should be. Basically, they try to put everything in a little box, right? And if it even somewhat goes outside of that box, they are like, they hate it. You know, like, oh my God, you incorporated this element in. It's terrible. It's not what I want. And they totally dismiss the music and basically act like it has no merit, even if it's something that's pretty good. So I try to be in the more.
We all are something like that sometimes.
To a degree. Absolutely. Yeah, like me making fun of that Torture City Naked Gardener or whatever, you know. Maybe just, yeah, I just wasn't artistic enough or open-minded enough for that one. But, you know, and I try to be, quote, open-minded when it comes to stuff, because to me, if you aren't, you're going to miss out on a lot of really great stuff. So I try to be open-minded. You know, as far as, you know, and I would say Slipknot is an incredibly important band to like kind of what metal is today, right? I mean, they were giant. They had a huge impact. And as far as what I think of most metal nowadays, personally, I think some of it's great and some of it's garbage, but that's kind of the way it's always been. Some of it's always been great. Some of it's always been garbage. So I don't think it's really better or worse than maybe, quote, the old days. I think it's roughly about the same as far as quality versus not.
Yeah. I also when I heard first time Slipknot's first album, and I was like, okay, this is this new metal thing, because it was in that movement back then. But then this was 2001, right?
Yeah.
2001. My friend had bought that album, and he was also into like death metal and that kind of stuff. And he was bought this album, and he said, "Hey, this sounds almost like death metal or thrash metal." No, he wasn't using thrash word, but because it was huge jump from the first album to this Iowa. At least for me, for my ears, it sounded quite different.
Yeah, it was a big evolution from one album to the next. I agree with that. But they usually changed a decent amount on each album. They're a band that doesn't tend to make the same album twice, at least in my opinion. So, but
I have maybe been stuck on this album. I listened when they released something new, maybe, but they haven't got my interest so much. But this is something that I might buy when I see it on flea market.
There you go.
But I don't have it yet. But sometime I will have it also. Okay. Now comes interesting, because you said not about this one. This is Mastodon. I don't have anything. I have to say that I never got interested about Mastodon. But you said about Judas Priest.
Which one?
Judas Priest.
Oh, Judas Priest. Which one? That's number. Let's go up here. No. Oh, Stained. Oh, I love Stained Class.
Yes, and you said something like, "Who would argue with you that Judas Priest should be on list. And I was thinking, I can argue with you.
Yeah, no, I just, to me, Judas Priest, and since we're talking about Judas Priest, and we're only at number 43, I think that kind of brings up one of my biggest problems with this list is the fact, because there's like maybe 5 Priest albums, I don't know, there's like 5 or 6 Judas Priest albums on this list. And
That's quite many.
I think that's one of the biggest problems with this list is all the repeats, right?
That's right.
And I mean, I love Stained Class because I did a ranking video a while back of all of Judas Priest's albums, and this was towards the top of the list for me. I absolutely adore this album, but that's neither here nor there. It's like, you know, the fact that there's like 5 albums by this band, they leave off stuff like Overkill and Testament and whatnot. So it's just whatever. I mean, I don't know if I was gonna do this. You know, I just would have thrown. You know, I guess one rule I would have made is I probably would have only done 1 album per band, and I probably would have done. You know, if it was Judas Priest, I would have personally. I mean, would I look at it as my personal favorite? Because if I'm going personal favorite, it's going to be Painkiller. But if I'm talking about what's the most important album they've ever done, it's either going to be, you know, their number 2, Victim of Changes, or British Steel. Those are the 2 most important albums they ever did. So I guess one of those 3 would be or maybe even Screaming for Vengeance. I don't know. But you know, whatever. It's just, yeah, Stained Class being on here, it's fine but again, just too many Priest albums. Well, too many repeats of anything. So.
Yeah, that's true. That would be been better if there's just one album from each band. Sometimes it's hard to decide only one, but still, there's like.
And it really depends.
If there is already Iron Maiden's Power Slave, why there has to be Iron Maiden's first album?
Yeah.
Just asking.
Yeah, because both of those are on here, Power Slave and their first album.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. I agree, but whatever.
But to me, Judas Priest has I like. To me, it's a band that I'd like to get some collection album.
Yeah.
I understand it has been really influential for many bands. And Rob Halford's voice is quite unique, of course. And many singers have been wanting to sing just like him, and that's how it started to find
power metal. I mean, power metal owes a giant debt to Rob Halford. You know, since we're talking about power metal, good God, you know. The other, and to me, Priest is like one of the foundations of metal, right? Like, basically, to me, the first metal band, you know, you had Sabbath, then you had Priest, then you had Motorhead, then you had Iron Maiden. To me, those are like the 4 foundational bands for the entire genre. You know, so
I have to say that also, if you think power metal, especially with fantasy style and singing high vocals, there has been also Uriah Heep and David Byron's voice. David Byron's voice was awesome. They were doing that thing with double vocals and how you say it, before Queen.
Right.
Queen did after them. So it has been really important thing also, especially for power metal. But of course, yeah. But yeah.
So what's next?
next comes. Whoops. Diamond Head. Yeah. I was thinking quite same way like you that it has been maybe important for this thrash metal bands in the
Yeah,
beginning of, but there has been quite many new wave British heavy metal bands that has been important for
yeah.
that genre. Or what you were saying.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like Diamond Head is on here just because Metallica made him famous, you know. You know, and they were an absolute giant influence on Metallica, and which is fine, you know. I personally, whatever. I don't really need to go on and on about Diamond Head, but yeah, I'm good with it being on the list. So anyway, let's go ahead and talk about Mayhem, I guess. Or is that where you're stopping, or?
Well, yeah, I just accidentally.
Oh, okay. Well, if you want to move on, go ahead.
This is also a really good example how it depends on what side of you think is greatest album. Are albums really great, or have they just had big influence
Right.
for some genre or subgenre?
Yeah.
Because like Mayhem, it has been really influential for other bands and all that black metal movement that started back then.
Well, really, there much earlier on the list was Bathory.
Well,
You
yeah,
know,
that's right. That's right. That's right.
and that
Yeah.
was to me like that was a very early seminal black metal album. You know, to me that's far more black metal than Venom. You know, because that was kind of a similar time frame. You know, so yeah, but I mean, because this came out in '94, and by then black metal was already a very well established genre. You know, but again, I don't dislike this album. I think it's, you know, it's fine. But I'm not, and I'm admittedly not a gigantic black metal fan. I like some modern black metal, like I like some of Behemoth's albums pretty well. I'll admit that. Let's see, or is there any? And I do like some.
Style is also quite different.
Yeah.
Different style.
So yeah, but whatever. I mean, whatever you think. I think again, a big part of the reason this made this list is because there is literal, you know, murder and suicide surrounding this album. So, you know, I mean,
but that's another thing that it made that movement quite big.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I had Power Slave.
Yep.
I thought this should have been higher.
I would agree. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't understand that there is Iron Maiden is higher.
How that happened, I don't know.
I understand Iron Maiden's first album. It has in that moment it was really big thing, and something new was in that. But at least for me, Power Slave is an awesome album, and Iron Maiden's first album is good one.
Yeah. I mean, when I did my Maiden ranking video, I know this was pretty high on the list. And I had a really hard time picking. Quote, I think my favorite turned out to be Number of the Beast. But this is definitely an incredibly great album. Hell, this might belong in the top. You can make an argument for this to be in the top 10, really, if you really wanted to. But whatever, you know.
Yeah, I would have put this at least for top 10 Power Slave, because Iron Maiden has been so important. Like I said about Black Sabbath earlier, Black Sabbath has been really important to many subgenres of metal music. But I would say and guess that if you would talk about metal for with uh, people who nowadays plays metal music, like if you would talk to Zero Bodom's guitarist or uh, I don't know, Slipknot guys or whatever, everyone would love Iron Maiden.
Yeah,
I would guess that.
I'd
And
be shocked. Yeah, if they didn't.
it's fun that how it was really important, like for Metallica and that kind of stuff back then. But same time also power metal.
Oh yeah,
Those are different styles.
yeah. I mean,
And
yeah. I mean,
of course progressive metal also.
I would say, as far as metal genres that owe the most to Iron Maiden, it's definitely going to be power and progressive metal. Those are the two.
Mm,
Those are the two that basically that have the most inspiration. We'll say from Iron Maiden for sure. You
mm,
know, um, but whatever. I mean, this is just another fantastic album. And should have been higher, but whatever. That's all I got to say about it, really.
mm, yeah. Awesome album, awesome album, awesome album. This is awesome, great, also great album.
Yeah.
You didn't like this so much. It
I
sounds like
like
that.
the album. No, I personally think it's a kick-ass album. I love Van Halen. I don't love the fact that it's on the 100 greatest metal albums of all time.
Yeah, okay, yeah. But I have to say also, if I had metal festival in Finland, would I take Van Halen there? Would it fit there? I would say maybe. It depends also, of course, what kind of metal festival. If there is
Yeah.
or only death metal bands and that kind of stuff, maybe Van Halen wouldn't fit there. But if there would be like power metal bands and some 80s style band, Van Halen would fit there quite well.
Yeah, I'd say with 80s style stuff they might fit in, but they still strike me as metal. But whatever. Moving on. So
There's many great albums here, man.
oh yeah. But lots of repeats and
repeats, yeah, same bands. And I don't have any argument about well, maybe
we talk about Korn a little bit, sure. Personally, I think this should be a lot lower on the list than number 2.
Yeah.
But I get why they're on here. Again, we're talking about just bands that had gigantic impact, right? Obviously, Korn ushered in the new metal era pretty much on their own with this.
Yeah, this is fun thing because, like, I like Korn,
right?
but I same time I have to hate that they made this new metal genre.
Yeah, I think he's already apologized for Limp Bizkit, but I don't know. It's just, yeah, it's just, yeah, it wasn't their intention, but I do think Korn probably does belong on this list just simply because of the impact they've had. As far as my personal opinion of them, I like some of their stuff. I'm divided on some of their stuff. I really like some of it. I don't. It just depends on what it is. I personally think this is a fairly good album, but I don't know. I think my favorite Korn album is probably Follow the Leader. But whatever.
Follow the Leader is one album that I remember when I first time listened it at my friend place, and I was like, okay, I don't like this music, but I love this sound.
Yeah.
The sound was so big, and I loved the bass there, and that was awesome. That was something I haven't ever heard before.
Yeah.
And that was awesome moment. But then later, I just realized that a couple of years later I was at Gore's gig and I was.
There you go.
And nowadays I like it. But there is when the head it wasn't in the band, they made some albums that I didn't like so much. Like, well, with the Skrillex.
Yeah.
Why?
Okay, yeah, Even though we're passing that one up, I don't know why that wasn't replaced with either Beneath the Remains or Arise, but that's all I have to say about that.
Yeah. That's fun. This is fun that we all have different opinions, and I understand very well that there is KSAD, or it could, if I would have chosen, it could have been also Roots.
Yeah, Roots is okay. It's definitely it's definitely not my favorite. But I don't hate it. I mean, I own 5 Sepultura albums. Schizophrenia, Beneath the Remains, Arise, Chaos ED, and Roots. Those are the 5 I have. But again, just to me, their best work would have either been Arise or Beneath the Remains. But whatever, that's just me.
Yeah, I like those albums, Arise and Beneath the Remains too.
Yeah.
Really good workout music. But Chaos AD and Roots, they found something that was different from other, I think.
That's true.
That's why. And maybe they were also influenced from some way for new metal thing.
Yeah, definitely.
With those albums. But it's so if you think that those albums was influencer for new metal thing, and then you listen some Crazy Downs, Come a Little Lady. It doesn't sound same. Yeah. Celtic Frost. Yeah. Well, then there is coming later. I have to say about Sepultura also that it was really weird because I have always thought I don't like Sepultura when Max Cavalera isn't there anymore.
Me either.
I haven't listened to that stuff so much. But then I got a 3CLT from Clark Vision with one of their album. Was it Against? Album name. And I listened it like a new. I tried to listen it like a new band, like I wasn't thinking as a Sepultura band, and I thought, hey, it isn't so bad. If I don't think it's the Sepultura that I knew,
they really just should have maybe changed the name after, but whatever.
Maybe,
but that would have. I understand why they kept the name because of marketing and everything. But anyway, no, I agree. It's not like their new music is terrible because it's not. It's just I just completely lost interest. I think it's just because Max has such a crazy voice. Nobody, is even really remotely like him, and I just subconsciously so associate Max with that band that I think the new guy's his name, he's been in it since Derek or whatever. I can't remember the guy's name. But yeah, Derek Green. Derek Green, yeah, okay. I mean, he's fine. I mean, I think he's a good singer, don't get me wrong, but he's not Max, that's the problem. Anyway, let's go ahead and talk, I guess, about we're going to talk about Toxicity a little bit now.
Yeah, well, yeah, I was going to jump another one, but of course we can talk about this one also.
If you,
Because another thing that I was talking about Korn, that when I heard first time the
right.
Leader album, and this when I heard that, because I like albums on music that it can have some blues. Another song can be a rock song, and then can a ballad. And System of Down was jumping around inside the one song also. So it was everything kind of thing.
I'll never forget.
I would say that, but
it's like for me, I remember System of a Down was one of when the hell did, because it wasn't this. I got into them with their first album. Which when did that one come out? I'm just gonna tell it. Just scrolling through here, I'll find it. There it is. Okay, their first one, 98. Okay, so their first album came out in 98. Okay, so I was 1 year past high school at that point. So I remember back then, I actually used to stay up to watch. I think MTV had revived Headbangers Ball at that point. I'm pretty sure they did because, Headbangers Ball ran for a while, then they killed it off for several years, and they brought it back. I think in 98, they had brought it back. And I remember I was sitting there watching it one night, and I saw System of a Down on it, and I saw basically the first music video for them I ever saw. It was a live version of the song War from their first album. And I remember hearing it and thinking to myself, I was just blown away by it because I was like, wow, this is so great. And then I went out and I bought the album and I was like, yep, this is absolutely great. And this album, and this probably is their best album. I think Toxicity probably is their best one overall. It's absolutely crushing and full of great songs. So I got zero complaints about this being on here.
Same. But same time is also one question. How many other bands you can name that are influenced by System of Down?
Probably, I would say anything that is modern, like they're trying to do, like basically any band that kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? It's kind of zany, and by that I mean they throw kind of everything at the kitchen wall and see what sticks. Because I think that's kind of what they did with their music, because they had so many elements in it. And yeah, I mean, I don't know. I would say a lot of bands are probably really influenced by them nowadays. I mean, you listen to a lot of stuff, you can hear the influence in a lot of different bands. I think they were very important overall for sure.
Yeah, Finland. In Finland, we have a band called FM2000, and I guess it has been influenced by System of Down quite heavily. It's a good band.
Yeah.
It has nice songs. And Alice in Chains is just like I said about Soundgarden. And to me, I never have been thinking it as a metal band.
That's where I'm going to have to just disagree with you on that one, because I think at the very least, Facelift and Dirt are very much, in my opinion, metal albums. I'd even say their third one, their self-titled Tripod album with the three-legged dog. I would say all three of those albums definitely qualify as metal, for lack of a better term. It's just to me. I mean, everyone has their own opinion, so to me, I think they do fall onto the metal side much more so than Soundgarden. That's for sure. But yeah, that's just me. But whatever. I can understand why some people may not see them that way. I do get it. So, but whatever.
Yeah, I'm not complaining that if someone says it's a metal band, but if I have seen it or listening it on radio, I never have thought it as a metal band. But it's fine band. I don't have any bad words. Same with Metallica. Same with Rage Against Machine. And Danzig. You said that it maybe doesn't fit there. Yeah, maybe that's.
I like that album, but I don't know if it belongs on the top. I don't know if it belongs on this list. I mean, it's good. I'm not saying this is it's definitely not bad by any stretch of the imagination. But
maybe
does it deserve to be on this list? I don't know.
Something that has been influenced in metal music has been Misfits.
Yeah.
But you can put it on. It's punk. You can't put it on this list. But it has been really influencing, I would say. And I forgot to mention, I have Alice in Chains Finnish connection, Finland connection. I forgot to say about that. I don't know. Do you know Hanoi Rocks band? Have we talked about that band? Hanoi Rocks.
Yeah, Hanoi Rocks. Yeah.
You know that band?
Yeah, I know Hanoi Rocks. Yeah.
Yeah. In YouTube. There's a clip where Alice in Chains play Hanoi Rocks song "Taxi Driver." Just came to my mind. Okay, all of these are something like, okay, and I understand that they are here.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. Again, just too many repeats.
Yeah. Tool, I haven't listened to enough. I know the band. Merciful Fate is also one band I haven't listened so much, because King Diamond's voice has always.
It's very polarizing.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's bad, not at all, but it just, for some reason, I don't know. It doesn't just click for me.
It's not for everyone. To me, for a long time, I didn't really much like it either. To me, it was an acquired taste, right? Now I think he's fantastic. So it's really it's very much an acquired taste. It was kind of the same thing with death metal. When I death and black metal. I had to basically kind of listen to him over time to really learn to appreciate him. And I can say that I think King Diamond's voice definitely falls into that category. It takes time to get into it. But if you listen to it, because the reason I was able to get into Merciful Fate really was just, I focused more on the guitar work at first because it's so good. Andy LaRoque's just a fantastic player. And I was just that's kind of what I focused on at first, and then just at some point, I don't even know how long it took. Probably took a couple of years of me to really try to. Then at some point, just the voice clicked in too, and I was like, "Yeah, this is awesome." So I get it. It's a very polarizing thing, but once you get it, I think it's just like anything else. But yeah, that's all I got to really say about it. So
Yeah, I understand that people like it, and I also understand people don't like it. Maybe I'm more like in between there.
Right.
I never feel that. Now I feel to listen to her voice. maybe his voice would be really good, like with I don't know. Do you know Avantasia?
Yeah, maybe. I don't.
It's power metal project where there is many singer on the same album. With that one, if everyone has some role to play on that album, and he would have some role to sing, in that
Right.
one, it would fit also for me. But whole album, Dio, I'm really happy that I saw also him alive.
Yeah, he definitely. Oh, yeah. I'm unfortunately I never saw him live, which is
Yeah.
I never saw the original Black Sabbath either. The closest I ever saw to Black Sabbath live is I saw Ozzy once back in the '90s, and he played a lot of Black Sabbath songs. So
Yeah.
that's the closest I ever came. But yeah, unfortunately, I did miss Dio. So
Yeah. I have seen Black Sabbath with Dio and with Ozzy.
nice.
But with it's fun. They're totally different kind of voices and
Oh
perform
yeah,
on stage. But Dio is so he was he was like, well, it's easy to compare to Typo Negative. They were showing asses on or for audience. I don't want to see some keyboard player ass when I
yeah,
go to see them live. Uh, and D was like, he was so polite
yeah,
on stage, and he was like, it felt that he felt to be honored to be on stage, and he was doing it proudly, and it was awesome. Great voice.
yeah. One of the best. Eventually, I'm gonna have to do a video on my favorite singers. He would definitely
Mm,
be towards the top. You know,
mm.
probably my favorite is probably Rob Halford. I mean, to spoil, he might be my number one.
Yeah. My, it's really hard.
Yeah,
Maybe Dio is one of the best, but also I like Peter Steele's voice.
yeah, he's yeah. It's totally a different thing, but yeah, it's
Totally
really good as
different.
well. Yeah,
Pantera. Ozzy, I understand these are here. I understand. Yeah. Just like you said, why there's collection? Why? Why it's collection? All other ones. All isn't that? Didn't he who chose these song albums? That didn't he notice this is collection?
right.
This Motorhead. Oh yeah, you don't see. Sorry.
It's a compilation. It's not even really. To me, I mean, yeah, Motorhead, duh, do they belong in this list? Of course they do. But they put up a freaking compilation. They didn't even put up an actual Motorhead album. I mean, I'm just like, what? How could I don't know why they wouldn't just put on like Ace of Spades or Bomber or Orgasmatron or really most of those albums, their earlier albums are basically pure gold. But instead they put on a compilation. To me, that was a giant insult to the band.
Yeah, this is one band I feel bad I didn't go to see them live. I thought if they're all time coming to Finland, I'm going to see on some festival someday.
Yeah. No, well.
No
Did you
way.
Speaking of Motorhead, did you ever watch the Lemmy documentary?
Yes, it's awesome. I yes, I first I was with my friend, and couple years later I was with my wife.
Yeah, I love that. I love the Lemmy documentary. It was great. I mean, man, that guy, he just did. It was so cool because he just did exactly what he wanted all of the time.
Yeah.
Not many people can say they live their lives that way. That's very rare. I mean, he just had a freedom that very few of us ever achieve. I certainly, so good for him. I'm glad he really enjoyed himself. So to me, that was, in a way, he's an inspirational figure because of that, but whatever. So I'm ready to move on from this. So.
Well, there's not so many to move on because
we're almost towards the end.
Yeah, awesome album.
Yeah,
I always have liked this artwork of Black Sabbath.
Yeah,
Black Sabbath.
That is fantastic.
Iron Maiden, Number of the Beast.
Yeah,
I like it.
And we got British Steel,
Master of Puppets,
and then another Black Sabbath album. I mean, and that's it for the list, basically. For me, it's just far too many repeats on here.
Yeah, that's right.
It was just to me, there was like, I can't remember because I made a whole thing about it. Like, to me, there were just too many. There were a couple of problems with this list. The biggest problem that kept out a lot of bands that we both feel should have been on here was just the repeats. Having 5 Metallica albums, 5 Black Sabbath, 5 Priest, 5 Megadeth. You don't need that many albums by one band. It's ridiculous. So that, I think, was a huge problem with the list. Another problem was there were a lot of questionable choices. It was like it's just stuff that just didn't even remotely not just questionable choices, but non-metal choices, and what I call the music journalism snobbery wankery choices. There is just too much of that stuff on this for this to be what I really would consider a really good list. There were just too many problems with it. Were there some absolutely fantastic things? Of course. But there was also a lot of less than fantastic things on it. So, whatever. I always think of Rolling Stone as a very, I certainly don't go to or care about any of their coverage of metal in any way, shape, or form. I know I think probably most people who are, quote, into Rolling Stone are probably not in our age demographic anyway. I would assume they're probably older. They're probably mostly boomers are probably who's into Rolling Stone at this point, because I don't think there's many 20-year-olds that are like scrambling to read Rolling Stone. I can't imagine.
I'm not so. I don't have anything to say about Rolling Stones because I haven't ever read it. Maybe some article from internet, but
I know it was a big deal here in the States. I would say it was a big deal here in the States from the 70s until the 90s. So they were a pretty big deal for at least 30 years here, maybe even somewhat into the 2000s. But of course, nowadays with the internet era, magazines are way less important than they used to be.
That's also a sad thing.
So it's just whatever. And I think a lot of these magazines only exist still because they existed for so long, and I just can't help but wonder who is their base of customers at this point, because I have no idea what's even keeping them afloat, but I guess it really doesn't matter.
I still like reading magazines, like music magazines or motorcycle magazines.
Yeah, but I'm talking specifically about Rolling Stone
and American. But usually I don't buy them because money.
Yeah, I haven't bought a magazine in years.
Yeah.
I just because really that form of like the only print media I like nowadays are books. Books. If it's not like that to me is print media that I like. It's just because if it's shorter form, I'm just gonna read it on the internet. That's what I'm gonna do.
I started reading some book on phone or something, but it didn't work. Not for me. It's so different. But hey, to go this more about back to this list.
Yep.
There was many albums that we both thought wouldn't maybe shouldn't have maybe been here.
Right.
But we already mentioned some albums that maybe we thought would have been should have been here. But what are albums that you think were missing?
Oh God, that's an extensive list. I would say, to me, the most egregious things that were missing: Blind Guardian, Halloween, Sabotage, Overkill, Testament, In Flames. Or no, In Flames was on there. Shit. What was the other
no. In Flames.
Oh no, In Flames was missing. That's right. Sorry, at the Gates made it. It was In Flames that.
But hey, let's go.
Stratovarius could have made it. There's so many bands they left off that I was just.
Yeah. What would you have been? Okay, let's say Stratovarius. Which album you would take?
Hold on. It's like I love a lot of their albums. I think my personal favorite one is where the hell is it? I recognize it more by album cover than name. That's the sad truth. Because I have so many albums in my digital collection. We'll just call it. Shit, which one is it? All right, fine. I'm gonna pick one. I don't know. I really like Episode. That's one that I really like. Okay. But again, that's a personal opinion.
I would take Visions.
Do what now?
I would take
Visions.
Visions because it's really well done whole album, I think.
Yeah, it's just I don't know. They just left off a lot of albums, and it's because they had to put Metallica on there 5 times, and Black. It was just like, give me a break, But whatever. I mean, we're beating that dead horse. What do you think? Okay, so I guess if I have to say, what do I think is the most egregious example of what they left off? If I had to pick one, oh God, that's a hard one. Maybe the biggest omission probably is if I just say one, I guess I'll say In Flames, because they were so important and they had such a giant impact, and them not being on there is just criminal. I think if I had to say the number one thing that I thought was the biggest omission, I'd say In Flames. That's probably the biggest miss they had.
And which album?
Horacle. That's my personal favorite one. I also really like Colony and Clayman, but Horacle is my personal favorite.
Clayman was just released.
Re-released, yeah. In their new style.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of their newer style, but
I understand. I like more also the older one. I would if I would just, of course, from Zero of Freedom, I would have taken Follow the Reaper, because Zero of Freedom was quite big thing, also in Japan and in Europe, and also in States in some point, some way. in that genre of music. And Follow the Reaper is just really well done. It combines together well uh, that guitar style and death metal and Amorphis, Land of Thousand Lakes.
Yeah, of course.
I think maybe there's also some other bands, death metal bands that start singing about folklore things. And like
I mean, I think Amon Amarth belonged on this list as well. You know,
but when was the Amon Amarth's first album released?
I don't know, the 90s, I think, at some point. They've been around a while. I know that. Let's see, Amon Amarth. Their first one was 98.
98, yeah. Okay. Yeah,
my personal favorite.
Comparing to Amorphis.
Yeah, I mean, to me, my personal favorite Amon Amarth is Deceiver of the Gods, but whatever. I mean, it's just it is what it is. I mean, I guess they just Annihilate. Hell, the best Canadian thrash band, Annihilator, didn't make it. I mean, they should have been on there. But whatever. Tons of stuff didn't make it for whatever reason, but we didn't create this list, so it doesn't.
But maybe we should.
I did a while back, back in February. I kind of did a top 50 list. Basically, what I did back in February is I took a look at my CD shelf, because that was basically the reason. What I did back in February is I challenged myself to make a video every day. That was a hell of a thing to do. It was basically, and one thing I was like, well, I know what could take up a lot of time and do several videos out of. What I did is I just looked through all my albums, and like if I really liked an album, a band, because basically I wanted to make a top 50 list of stuff that was in my collection. But the rule I had for myself was it had to be essentially one album per band. I wasn't going to do, 5 albums by the same band, because to me that's just boring. I was like, it's got to be one album per band. So I just went through all I did is I just looked at my CD shelves, and I was like, for example, I was in the A's. Hey, I like Anthrax. What's my favorite Anthrax album? I'd pull that off. Look at the Black Sabbath albums. Which was my favorite? And then I would just, and that's how I did it. And then I would just, just pull them off. And then I remember when I was looking at those 50 albums after I pulled them off the list, or not off the list, off the shelf, I was like, well, now I have to attempt to order these in some way. And then I just made different stacks for like each group of 10. Which one does this belong in? And that was a completely subjective by my taste list. It had no bearing on what I thought was, quote, important to metal or influential or any of that. It's just what did I like personally. And that's how I made that list. Now, if I made a top whatever list of influential or most important or whatever, it would probably be a different list. Because
it would be also different if you would make it together with someone like this, Rolling Stone list. It just looks like there has been many people doing that list.
I think there were, if you read the byline, I think there were like 4 or 5 people named. So yeah, it was definitely more than one person who made the list. And you're right. If you do things as a group, you're going to have different outcomes than if you do it individually, because you're going to influence each other's opinions as you're doing it. You're going to go in with your own set of opinions, but as you're interacting with the other people in the group, that's going to influence your opinions in the final outcome as well. So,
like I would put on this list one album that was missing is, maybe you would put also that one, Halloween, Keeper of the Seven Keys.
Yeah, of course.
Because Halloween.
Yeah. I mean, that was a crazy omission, but again, they missed so
maybe
much stuff.
Or Walls of Jericho, their first album, or maybe. But maybe Keeper of the Seven Keys was better one.
Yeah, I mean, it's debatable which one you'd want to be on there. I mean, there's so many great choices. I don't even know what my favorite Halloween album is. I'd have to really think about it. You know, I'd probably debate with myself about it for a while. You know, Better Than Raw is also a great album. You know, but whatever. Everybody has their own Gambling with the Devil. I really like that one. But anyway, I could keep going on and on.
Yeah, I think I like most still the Kiske thing.
Yeah.
I don't
so
because it was so. He has a really nice sound also.
Yeah, no, it's an amazing album, Keeper. Yeah, I mean that's a pretty, and it's a very important. It's an incredibly important power metal album as well. It had a giant impact. So yeah, it's great. You know, it's like I said, I would debate with myself all day long about my favorite Halloween album, but maybe one day I'll do a ranking video. Who knows? It's just hard to do those because, you know, a lot of people in the VC do them, but the reason I don't do that many is because of the way I force myself to do it. I have to actually, like, what I do is because I think a lot of people who make them in the VC, because I don't think, like, before I make a ranking video, I'm going to listen to all of the albums of a band, right? I'm going to listen to them. I'm going to rank them somehow on a 0 to 100 scale, you know, and put down some subjective thoughts as I'm listening to it or whatever. And just so I have something to say when I'm making the video, right? And the thing is, if a band has 20 albums, you just look at that and you're like, I got to listen to 20 albums to make one video. And you're just like, how am I going to do this? When am I going to find the time? And I don't know how many times I've gone to start to do one, and I'll start the list and I'll listen to some of the albums, and then I'll lose the spreadsheet, or like I'll like get halfway through it. I'll listen to like 10 of the 20 albums, and then like something will happen with my computer, or I'll misplace the file or something. I'm like, shit, I lost my notes on those 10 albums, and now I have to start over and start listening to them again. I don't know if I want to do that.
Yeah, I always think when I do that something like top 5 lists or something that if I do this on next week, this might be totally different.
So
because mine just changes with which album you like or which song. It changes so easy. At least for me, many times.
Yeah, I mean, a great example, and I know this is a generic one that everybody does, but I don't care if it's generic. Like, picking between, like, either Ride the Lightning or Master of Puppets is my favorite. Between those two, it's like, you know, or on the Mega side, Peace Sells or Rust in Peace. You know, it can go either way for most people, and it's just like, which one's my favorite? Well, I guess it depends on which week it is. You know, so yeah, it's just, so I get what you're saying, how whatever your feelings are can definitely change week to week or month to month, day to day. But I think that's true of anything like this, because, you know, basically what we're doing is talking about our subjective opinions on art, for lack of a better term, right? Because obviously music's an art form, and you know, it's our opinion of it, and that can just change depending just on our mood, on what we're feeling, on what's going on all these other things. So, you know.
Megadeth is something that it would be really hard to decide which album I like. Because there's so good albums, and they're different way to good. Like if you listen earlier one and from early 90s.
Yeah.
Almost like different band.
Oh yeah, yeah. So
It sounds Megadeth, of course, but there are different reasons that I might like something later
yeah,
about it. And even the latest ones, they're awesome album. It's fun band that it has been well not in 90s there made also something maybe I didn't like so much, uh, uh, but nowadays they are still doing really awesome albums.
yeah. It's always great when a band can keep doing great stuff over a long span of time, because so many bands have like basically they'll they'll start off pretty good with a debut album, and it'll be a really good album, and then a couple albums in they'll really peak and just produce something that's just absolutely outstanding. They'll have what we would consider a brief golden age, and then they'll start to kind of decline,
Mm.
and then kind of, and some bands decline really quick and really harshly. Other bands, it's more of a slope. And then what'll usually happen after that is they'll kind of continue on at kind of that lower level for a good chunk of their career. Sometimes they go back up a little bit, sometimes they don't. But it is, to me, the best bands are the ones that can just be consistently great all the time. I mean, that's kind of rare, because most bands are not consistently great all the time. Most have, like, because most of my favorite bands have periods of time in their careers where I'm just like, meh, or like what they're currently doing isn't my favorite. Like an example, Iced Earth, right? To me, when they had a couple of albums in a row that were absolutely just fantastic, and then what they've been doing recently, I mean, I still like it well enough, but it's compared to what they used to do, nah. It's not even in the same ballpark, in my opinion. That's just one example. But on a band that's remained like consistently great, I would say, a band that I consistently like, Amon Amarth. Like, I think they consistently are very high level of songwriting. Like, none of their albums are bad. They're all really, really good. So,
yeah, I can think there are some Finnish band that has also this band called nowadays he's going with the name Wolfheart, and guy who's doing the song had before that band called Before the Dawn, and it feels that in some way he has been going all the time this way, maybe this little bit, but always has something new for him, and I like his music also. Or every album that he has made, I have enjoyed. Even the album that I think he himself didn't like it so much, and I was like, "What? This is awesome!"
Yeah, and it's bringing that up. An artist can have a much different opinion of their work than their fans do. Much different opinion. Like, they may hate it and be like, God, I can't. But then a lot of their fans might be like, that was your best one or my favorite or whatever. So that absolutely does happen. But I don't know. I think are we done talking about the list at this point?
Well,
I think we pretty much are. So
guess what? It's Sunday now.
yeah, not here. It's a 7-hour difference. So
it has been Sunday now 8 minutes already.
Well, then I will let you hit the sack over there. Oh, is it still daylight? Is it still bright out at night over there right now?
It's really dark. It's not summer anymore.
That's good, because I remember that one video you had. It was like 12 or 1 o'clock at night and the freaking sun was, you'd like.
Yeah, but when we started, it was quite light. Yeah, still.
Wow. Yeah, because
it was 10 o'clock when we started.
here by 10 p.m. we're in blackness pretty much. So
yeah.
But yeah, I guess that's how it is in the northern latitudes.
Yeah.
You know, because I know Finland is further north than where I am for sure. I have no idea I'm not that good with geography. So
but thanks for everyone who watched.
Yep. Anybody who popped in, thanks much. It was a lot of fun, and I'm sure we'll do this again at some point. So that's it.
We do.